Hey everyone, thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel. And today you're going to be listening to Social Vibes Live. Tonight is my special guest, James Finley, and he's going to be talking about his podcast, Pick a Side, and we're also going to be talking about some of the racial issues concerning our world today. Thanks for tuning in.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to a Social Vibes Live. We usually do our show on the Zoom platform, but tonight we are going to do a live show, and I am so excited to have a friend of mine on the show with me today, Mr. James Finley, and he has a podcast called Pick a Side. We're going to talk about that a little later, but I want to tell you that Social Vibes was created to bring people together because at one point we were stuck in the house and we couldn't go anywhere during the month of March. So Social Vibes has become a wonderful platform for people to come, dialogue, laugh, just engage in some stimulating conversation. So I hope you are joining us tonight because we're going to have a really good time talking about a bit about different subjects today. So James, thank you for being on the show today.
Well, thank you for having me, Vanessa. It's always a pleasure to talk to you and to be able to be in the public eye right now to talk
I
to the
know.
masses about
Yes.
different topics.
Yes, I'm so glad we're able to have this conversation because we know that a lot is going on, a lot. And for me, it has been a very frustrating, enlightening, thought provoking, and certainly I have tons of questions, not for you, but just in general.
Right.
And that I know that some people could probably never answer, but it's just a lot going on in my head. And I know that you have a lot that you want to say. We're going to talk about your podcast in a little bit, but I just got to ask you this question
Yes.
before we dive in. Did you shop today?
Did I shop today?
Yes, you're supposed to be
Yes, I
doing
did.
the blackout.
I actually did. I did shop today. However, all the shopping I've been doing lately is of the technology type of stuff. Had to go over to Best Buy today, to pick up some other items. And it just
Wow.
seems like Best Buy has been like my go-to place. And I really want to stop doing that because I'm really been spending a little bit too much money on
Well, I mean, okay, you did shop today, but I mean, did you black out? You were supposed to black
oh
out. I
no.
know you
So
on a mission. I know you on a mission.
I'm glad that you said that. See, I blacked out about a month ago when it was originally stated that, we were supposed to have a blackout day. I purposely did not spend any money on that whole day. Matter of fact, I didn't even go anywhere that day. I was telling folks, hey, why am I seeing stuff on Facebook with you guys out just living your best life? And here I am stuck in the house. I'm trying to, stick to the blackout day, and you guys are just doing whatever. And everybody was like, well, it's not on this day. I said no, and I'm presenting different, posters and flyers of all this stuff. So no, I did not honor today, but I did do my blackout day about a month ago.
Well, that's okay. But you
Yeah.
know what? I know it's just one day, but I feel that if we are really going to make a difference and an impact, then we have to support our businesses, more than just one day. This is a start. This is a great start, and we have to, if we want them to be successful and grow and become, really good businesses, then it's going to take more than one day. We're going to have to do it more than that. And
Well,
that's a whole nother subject about
yeah.
yeah.
That's because I was getting ready to go in real quick.
No. We're gonna say that for another conversation.
Yeah. We
But
won't
that's
get
a
into
whole nother lane right there. Yes, definitely. But I just wanted, did you get your banner done?
Yes, and
Okay.
well, actually, I have to pick it up tomorrow.
Okay.
However, I
Okay.
was I was very fortunate because I found out in doing so that I patronized a very professional Black franchise business with fast signs,
Mm-hmm.
and I was very happy with that because I won't go into it because that's for another show.
That's for another show. Yes.
Yeah,
But we're
but
gonna
I did
we're gonna make note
a
of that
Black
right now because that's
business,
for another
and
show.
so they've been very professional so far, and so I cannot wait to see the finish.
good. I can't wait to see it either. Well, we're gonna definitely turn the corner right about now. We're gonna talk about what's really on our minds, and I know that, when you started talking about your podcast and one of the reasons why you decided to do a podcast, it came from what happened on March 25th. So take me back to that day, or take me back to the time when you watched the video. Because I know for me, it took it took about a week or so to watch it. I couldn't bring myself to that place to visually see someone take another person's life on camera. I mean, we see it on TV, we see it on shows. It's all made up, it's done behind, on a silver screen or whatever, but it's totally different and it plays out differently in our minds when we're actually seeing this happen for real. So, take me back to that day when you watched the video, or what did you feel? Tell
Okay.
me how it changed you.
Well, before I go any further, can you still see me on camera?
Yes, I can see you on camera.
Okay, I can't see you, but it's on my end, but I can hear you. So let me just go back to that question that you asked me about how I felt on that particular day. So I'm at home and I'm a CNN junkie. First of all, love watch the news, and here comes breaking news, and so I'm seeing, you know, this black man on the ground. However, I'm not really understanding what's going on, and then they tell me that this black man lost his life. Come to find out, it's George Floyd. Uh, I had to watch it a few times to kind of get an understanding of what exactly was going on. And I could not grasp it. And then when I finally grasped it, oh my God, I got very angry. I got angry. And when I get really upset, I cry for whatever reason. And, my anger, I was calling friends and I'm like, did you guys see this? Everybody, yeah, but, so the anger that was inside of me, it would not have done me any good probably to go outside that particular day and see somebody, because I really felt like being violent in a bad type of way, because it was like one of the first times live where I saw a man's life being taken away from him.
Yeah.
And then to see the fact that this man was begging and pleading for his mom, as men, it's always mama, it's always going to be that dynamic no matter how old we get. And to hear him calling out for his mom, and just to see him saying, I can't breathe. And Officer Shavin had absolutely no regard for this man's life at all. And, and so I had to digest that for the whole night. And it kept playing on every news outlet. And I start on Facebook, on Twitter. I start hearing what people were saying, how people was upset. Everybody I spoke with, they felt the same way about it. And then they start protesting. They start saluting the whole 9 yards. We all know how that went.
Right.
But I just felt like it's got to be something that I can do. And in times past, I grew up with the Rodney King, beatings and all that took place, which was absolutely horrible back in '92. And I had to protect my church that I went to at the time from getting burnt down and this and that. However, because I'm in my 50s now, and just the feeling that I have now about it, it just did something to me. And so I kept talking with friends and just as friends. And so I was like, hey, I'm not in no position to be out there protesting and walking for 4 or 5 hours in the hot sun. It has to be something else that I can do. And pretty much what I did, I said, you know what? Let me use something that I know I have success with. And that's my voice. And I believe that, God has given me a gift to reach out to certain people and to the masses. And that's exactly what I want to do and why I came out with the podcast hashtag Pick a Side.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to hearing more about your show as far as your content, the different type of shows that you're going to have on because it's always interesting when you have two different perspectives. Like, from any topic that you select, you're going to have a different perspective from each person. So it's always interesting to see what a person thinks. I mean, for me, in regards to the whole situation, I think it was more, my thought pattern was more of why? Why? Why do they hate us so much? Because from that one episode or in situation, you know, I don't know if you feel like the protests and the rioting, we know the rioting is bad. So let's agree rioting is not bad. Would you say? I mean, because people will say, oh, that's all they want to do. No, it's not all we want to do. But sometimes that's how some people are being hurt. Because look at back in the day. They did the same thing back in the day.
Yeah,
Back in what 1967 or whatever it was. If you ever saw the movie I Am Not Your Negro, did you see the
right,
movie? Okay,
right.
same stuff, right?
Yep,
Same situation.
yep.
Everything that happened. It's just a different people, different time era, same situation. So some things have changed. We're a little bit more integrated, but there's still issues. So my frustration and my I don't want to say anger, but I was very upset that we are in 2020 and we're still living with all this hate, right? We're still living in the midst of systemic racism. We're still we're still having issues with being able to get a job because of whatever. Maybe my name is not the right name, or I can't hear
Protest.
you. Oh, what did you say?
If you go back, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. If you go back to the 60s when people were protesting with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., uh, you probably will notice that there was only one group of people that was protesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was blacks. You may have saw maybe one or two Caucasian.
Awesome. It depends on what type of.
Right, right. But for the most part, when it came down to civil rights protesting, it was only blacks that was the majority that was doing that. What makes today's protesting so unreal is the fact that you have white folks that are out
Asian.
there sometimes in the majority than what we are,
Right.
that are marching and protesting for our civil rights. So you have people way over in Australia. You got people over in Saudi Arabia, in countries that you never would have ever felt
Yes.
that would be doing that. And
Yes.
then to bring it back home to the United States, you got people in North Dakota, you got people in Maine, where ain't none of us out there,
Right.
And so right now, that's why we are being heard right now. I
Mm-hmm.
just want to keep it real.
Right.
If this was nothing but blacks protesting, our voice would not be heard the way it's being heard. Our voice is being heard because our white brothers and sisters have finally decided, you know what? Enough is enough. And they have started, in this beautiful situation we're in now where they're protesting for our civil rights. And so what's happening now is that you have corporations that are being, where people are telling them, say, listen, if you don't do X, Y, Z, we just not going to, we're going to start boycotting you. And so when you start messing with people's money, things will change.
Things will change.
How they're doing in the NFL, how they're doing in basketball, wherever sports is right now, we're seeing a totally different era right now.
Yeah.
You have people have leverage now to be able to have a voice. I listen to sports talk radio all the time, and they would never ever touch anything political or racial. And now they can't stop talking about it now.
Right.
It's like the handcuffs and the shackles has come off of them, and they are like, okay, let's go for it. And so right now, we just have everybody that's protesting. And I feel that that's what's making the big difference right now.
I think so too. And I think that even though it seems like we are moving in the right direction, right?
Mhm. Right.
But then you ask the question of, okay, we're also seeing, a rise in the racial acts. Okay, you
Mhm.
see that almost every day. Okay,
Mhm.
we went through a little segment, a little period where we saw the lynchings. I mean, even as of, I think it was today or yesterday. His last name is Booker, and I don't know exactly. I think he was in Bloomfield. Not really sure of the place,
Mhm.
but why was someone trying to tie him to a tree? Right? I
Right.
mean, these are things that are going on. And then look at there's a couple in California. You probably heard the story. They're on the street trying to mess up the Black Lives Matter sign. And the husband says, "Oh, there's no racism." Really? Um, so my question is, yes, we're trying to move forward, we're moving in that direction because you have a percentage of people, Caucasian people, who really see, and Asian, all the different non-blacks, okay,
Right. Right.
or that are saying this is not right. Something's definitely wrong here. Let's take a look. What do we need to do? But see, we're not the ones who can change that. They have to have conversations among themselves. They have to look in the mirror and say, is this me? Is
Yeah.
this who I am? And is
Right.
this, recognize it in each other? They have to have conversations within themselves. And another thing, as long as the Ku Klux Klan is around, all these, now I'm sorry, it's a terrorist group. If they're going to call the Black Panthers terrorists, and there's another group they call terrorists, I don't know if it was the rioters or whatever, the protesters, that's a terrorist group. But yet, we're not killing people. We're not hanging people from trees. We're not calling people bad names. I mean, what if it was flip flopped? What if we started doing that to people and calling people names out of their names? And to me, I'm like, they're called us animals, but we're not animals. We just want to live and do the right thing and live in this wonderful world that we call America,
Mhm.
right? But
Right.
you want to try to keep us down by slandering us with negativity,
Mhm.
out the word what you call us, and then you make all these comments on social media, on TV, right?
Mhm.
And then
Right.
you turn around and say, "Oh, I'm sorry." But I remember my mother always told me, and I'm sure your mother told you this too. If you don't have anything nice to say, then keep your mouth shut. That's what my mother told me.
Right.
So I'm just saying, they need to think about what they're saying before they even let it out their mouths. Because those words are damaging to people. And let's not even talk about the little kids that are scared to go outside because of what they're seeing every day. So, my question for you is, yes, we're moving forward, but what do you think needs to happen to really make a whole change?
Well, what's what's happening right now needs to continue to happen. And I hate to put it out here, you have to continue to have white folks to speak on our behalf. Nobody is list. No one ever wanted to listen to us. No one ever wanted to give us the benefit of the doubt. It's coming by way of white folks being able to say, you know what? Hey, listen, this has have to change. And I'm very thankful. It doesn't really matter how it's changing. It's changing. The whole landscape is changing. You'll have pockets here and there where first of all, I don't want anyone to think that I'm not saying that racism doesn't exist. Heck yeah, it does.
It
And
does.
it may be here until we leave this earth. However,
Hold on, hold on.
go ahead.
Let me ask you something you just said. It may be here till we leave this earth. So I
Mhm.
guess you're saying that you don't foresee this changing in our lifetime because we're the same age.
I don't see it changing to the degree to where I want it to change, to where everyone is on a level playing field. No, I don't think that's going to happen in my lifetime. But I'm definitely hoping that it would happen in my children's lifetime and my grandkids, whenever they come into this world. But right now, I think that we're peeling back layers of hate, but we have someone that resides in Washington, D.C., and his whole this whole week, this whole week, all he's been doing is just turning it up. He's been lighting those flames. They've been smoldering for so very long, and now it's done turned into an inferno. So you have a
Stuck.
what is called the male version of a Karen, but you have something that's coming on where we're seeing this stuff in real time. We're seeing it played out on social media. We're seeing where white folks are calling us the N-word, telling us to go back to our country, telling us that they can't stand us and this and that. This is happening in 2020. The stuff that my parents grew up to in Atlanta, Georgia, I'm facing that now. Now, is it as bad as it was when my parents was coming up? No, but overall, it's still happening, and I think that's regretfully, I hate that it is. However, I do believe that if I'm just gonna say white folks because I'm playing. I can't use all these big old words. If white folks continue to put the pressure on government, put the pressure on these big corporations, put the pressure on the local your mayors and all the people that's handling all this, I feel that there will be some changes to take place. But we have never been taken serious before, and now I feel as though we have the leverage to do so. There's still a whole lot of work to do. There is one element to all of this that's for a different show that we as Black folks, we gonna have. It's a situation that's going on now that has to be dealt with, that you and I spoke of.
Yes.
And
I mean, we can touch on it. We can touch on it because we talked about Black Lives.
So all the good work that's being done right now, it's like, okay, is this going to get erased because we keep doing this black on black crime stuff? I mean, so all the Black Lives Matter, it's all fine, well, and good.
It's wonderful.
I'm behind it 1,000%. But it's like when everyone else is behind us as well, when they finally got behind us, and then they turn on the news and they like, man, a little 8-year-old girl got shot, a little 13-year-old got shot, 16-year-old got shot. I mean, hey, as Ricky Smiley, his daughter gets shot three times. I mean, when is it going to end?
Right.
So
right.
You have Chicago, that's just a hotbed. A Memorial Day weekend, 39 shootings. Are you kidding me?
Right.
You go down to Atlanta. It's a hotbed right now. So you have all these different areas across the United States where we are going to the same vigor that we have with Black Lives Matter and how we be protesting about, hey, police brutality and the injustices that we've been dealing with for so long. When are we going to start dealing with this own thing that's in our backyard? When are we going to start dealing with Black folks killing Black folks just because we wear a different color? Or are we in a different neighborhood that, 90% of the time you don't even own no property over there? When are we going to start dealing with that in addition to Black Lives Matter? And so right now, I have a real problem with that. And, but I don't want this to seem as though I want to sweep Black Lives Matter under the carpet, because I'm not doing that at all.
Right. Because it's an awesome movement. It's a significant movement, and I think it will make a great impact. But you have a point. We do the black on black crime. You know, the children. What are they seeing? How do we change our community? How do we change the mindset of our community? What do we need to do to bridge the gap of the lost? I mean, I know that we both know the Lord and we know that God is able, but we still need to reach the masses, to let them know, look, this is how you act in public. You don't need to do this. I mean, it goes deeper. It's like being taught. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Having
Right.
those good morals and that couth about yourself and carrying yourself, the way you dress, the way you know what I'm saying? It's everything. The way you think, your mind, the way you think about yourself. Where are you going? Are you progressive? Are you just hanging out on the corner?
Well,
You gotta go ahead.
black folks,
Oh, I don't have corona.
we have to, it's all right. Black folks, we got to do better.
We
We got
do.
to
We
do better.
gotta do better.
And we can't be saying, okay, well, this organization has to do this. We have to start doing better in our homes. And listen, I am not sitting up here saying that, you know, we don't deserve anything. Yes, because we have been shorted education. We've been shorted economic growth in our communities. Our communities now are changing color, so there are things out here in
Gentrification.
Los Angeles. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, there are things out here in Los Angeles that going down Crenshaw, from Exposition all the way down to Florence almost. We have a new train line that's being
Wow.
put, and but that whole community has changed,
What
and
is
we
it
know
now?
changed too. However, you're gonna start. We will start seeing, you know, different stores popping up. We'll start seeing the Starbucks. Anytime you see a Starbucks opening up, the neighborhood is changing. You'll start seeing Trader Joe's in the community. There's a lot of change that's coming on, but when is the change going to start happening with us just being in the community?
Right.
The change is only coming because there's another element that's moving in. I'm not against that, but what I am against is that we are being driven out to different areas out here in Southern California, an hour and a half away. There is no way that I'm going to be living out in the Inland Empire where it's going to take me an hour and a half to get to work every single day or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
When Los Angeles, it's my home and it's what I consider home, and it'll always be my home. However, I'm at a point in my life right now where I'm seeing a little bit of change, and but we have to get our mayors involved. I was listening to on the news yesterday, and they had the young lady, the mayor of Chicago, on TV, and that question was asked to her, what are you guys going to do now about the black on black crime? What can happen? And all she talked about was how it started. This is how it started. She didn't have a solution to the problem. She just talked about, well, we've been deprived of this and we've been deprived of that. Okay, we understand all that now, but now we have to get past all that to figure out what are we going to be? What's the next steps? What's the next measures for things to change?
So we talk about that, changing the mindset of our community, you
Hmm.
know, teach one, train one, right?
That's right.
So that is a hard question to answer
Hmm. Right.
because it's big, it's huge, it's a huge task. When you think about trying to change the mindset of a community, not just one community, I mean, it's huge. That's a tall order. How do you start? But it does start from the home, right? That's the
Right.
first place it starts.
Right.
And if they're not getting it there, they're going to get it from the streets,
Right.
right?
Right.
So it is a very good question. And we talk about that on the social vibes connection. But um, where do we start to make the change? Where do we catch the young kids?
Yeah.
Do you have conferences? I mean, that make it easy for kids to come in. Teach them the right way. Teach them technology. Teach them education, how to use your mind more. Read more. Pick up a book. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
well,
Don't always want to hang out on the street.
yeah, the high school that I went to out here, Crenshaw High School, I served on the alumni board. And so I saw a whole lot with our kids. Crenshaw right now, it's about maybe 70% African American. The rest is Hispanic. And however, when we would have those parent teacher conference meetings that, we've both been accustomed of growing up, um, there was none of us
Mm,
at those conferences. It was plenty of them,
mm,
but it
mm.
wasn't none of us.
We weren't represented.
Yeah, right. And so, how do you get teachers and administrators of a school to try to sell out and to help us 100% when they're not getting it back from us? Basically, elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools for African Americans is turning out to be nothing but babysitters,
Mm,
where you can go drop your kids off, and you drop them off, they can eat, play, learn, come home. When they go home, those are the crucial moments for those kids. And when they go home, they're going home to chaos.
mm-hmm.
When I was a middle school counselor, I saw this firsthand where these kids, from sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, they were coming to school, just all kind of stuff going on. I was an at-risk counselor. So I seen it firsthand on how we're not doing the job at home. Our kids don't have any respect,
Mm-hmm.
like how we used to, as we were talking the other day. When we were growing up, hey, if you saw a kid at the bus stop or something like that, and if that kid used any bad language around you, hey, that kid would be very quick to say, hey, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Right.
Man,
Even
kid,
around adults.
right. Kids ain't thinking about that no more. They just
Yeah,
say
just
whatever.
pass in front of you.
Right. Our young women, like, can you just walk around here like that and it's okay? And so I'm just like, I'm maybe old school, but still, if God bless my mom, if my mother had the opportunity to come back here and see how things are, my mom be like, you know what? I want to go back, because it's just crazy
It is.
on how, our young women and how our young men, walking around here with your pants hanging down and, all that sag and stuff. It's just ridiculous. But, we have to do better, and it has to start at home.
Well, you know what? Even educating them on that, educating the young men. I know we took a serious turn on our conversation, but
Yeah, yeah.
um, even educating them on why they do it,
Mm-hmm,
what it really means.
mm-hmm.
Some people don't even know. They think it's a fad. They think it's, whatever. I have no idea. Maybe they think, maybe they're part of a gang. I don't know. Maybe East Coast, West Coast. Maybe y'all do something different out there. But I think, from my understanding, it came from jail.
It originates from jail.
And so I'm thinking to myself, why do you want to represent yourself? Can you hear me? Think you're frozen.
What they see. So they're a product of what they see. And, pretty much when we were growing up, hey, listen, I grew up in what they call the mod era, where, we were wearing 501 Levi's that was flooding with Argyle sights, penny loafers, button down shirts with the scarf around your neck type of thing.
Oh yeah.
The preppy look. That look was probably my whole 3 years when I was going to high school. But we got that look off of MTV videos and stuff like that, so, who's to say, I know it wouldn't happen in my household if sagging was going on back then, because I know my dad would have just
You would
totally
have got a spanking.
yeah, he just would have killed me,
Right.
but at least what we did was in good taste. The stuff that's going on now, it's just off the
Yeah.
charts.
And there's no one there to provide correction, like you said,
Right.
right? Like my mother and my father, there's no way they would let me go out the house if I was looking a certain way. You know what I
Right.
mean? So there's
Right.
no one to provide that correction in some homes, not all, because there are some homes that, kids are well trained, they're doing the right thing. They know right and wrong. They know I'm not gonna look like that, because I'm focused. I'm on a mission to do
Well,
something
listen,
great.
back in the day, she'll kill me for saying this. You know, my sister used to have
Oh
to
Lord,
sneak
don't talk
clothes.
about your sister.
She would have to sneak clothes out of the house, so she could kind of wear them because it was forbidden in my parents' home for her to wear certain things, and so but that respect level that you have for your parents is just not there as it used to be,
Right.
and so hey, we
Yeah.
just have to keep on trying, and that's all we
Yeah.
have to do, and hopefully the light bulb will come on at some
Yeah.
point.
Something you said about school.
Mhm.
Um, I was watching something the other day, and I can't remember exactly the show I was watching, but this young lady was in a private school. She was the only African American in her class,
Okay.
and she was very intelligent, very smart girl.
Mhm.
But there were a few people probably that felt she didn't belong there. And so they made these terrible comments to her, right? And then the teacher did not correct the kids who were talking down on her. The
Mhm.
teacher herself said something like, well, if you need a little bit longer to complete your assignment, or you don't have to really do it if it's too hard for you, you know instilling those thoughts into a person, like I'm not capable to do
Yeah.
this.
Right.
And I think sometimes, and we have heard it, we hear it today, and there's subliminal things that are happening to our kids, and they're being told they're not good enough,
Right.
right? They can't equal. They're not equal. They can't match up. And we have to really instill those values back into our children to tell them, yes, you can do this. So this is the real world, but this is what you can do. And really enforce some of the negative stuff that they're being told out there. And it's hard out there. And let's not even talk about bullying. We're not even gonna go down that lane.
Right.
But
Right.
we got to get back what we were talking about. But my question to you is, we do have to be mindful of our kids. And like I said, if we can touch a kid, if we see someone, but see, you're scared to even say something to someone. They might pop off and beat me up if I say, young lady, why you carrying yourself like this, right?
Well, you know what? Let me jump in real quick. For me, I'm me personally, I'm not afraid to say nothing to anyone. And hey, that's just who I am. However, as you get older, you learn to start having a little bit more wisdom than what you used to have. But I dealt with young kids, young people, and if I have to tell a young man, hey, I need you to pull your pants up, you're gonna pull your pants up. Now, will there be pushback? Absolutely, there will be. Because our kids, their parents go up to the schools. You suspend a kid for 3 days. Parents go up to the school and they cussing out the principal and all the counselors and everybody. And they doing it in front of the kid.
Right.
So what happens? So
Right.
now the kid has lost all respect
Yes.
for the principal, and the kid feels like he's empowered. You've just given your child empowerment over adults. So that kid is going to run roughshod over the whole entire, faculty. So, you have to be able to, you have to have some strong leadership in these schools. You can't have people that's going to get pushed over. You have to have some teachers that's not going to take no mess from nobody. You have to have some teachers that within the realm of the law, because teachers cannot be how they used to be.
Right.
You have to be careful because we live in a very politically correct climate. You have to be able to say certain things, but I do believe that from day one, when that class starts, and if you put your foot down in a certain manner, I do believe that you can gain kids' respect. Kids want to test you. They're gonna test you to see if you real or if you fake. And if they see any kind of weakness where they can be like, okay, they're gonna take advantage of you.
They're gonna take advantage of it.
Absolutely.
That's right. I know it. But we were talking about the racism. Let's kind of circle back around on that one because we tie up. But what do you think? Why are they so angry? Because I'm talking about Caucasian people.
Yeah.
Why are they so angry? Is it because we have progressed? Is it because we're moving ahead and we are doing great things and we are intelligent, whole offices, and we are really doing well in certain aspects? Do you think they fear losing some of their power? Because I just don't get it. I'm still trying to find somebody to answer my question. Ask me what my question is. Ask me what's
Which question?
Why do they hate us?
Well, I can tell you, I can answer the question for you.
Well, answer my question.
They hate us because they can't be like us. We are very
resilient.
We are very, very special people. We've been blessed with this skin right here that cannot be removed. We've been blessed. We have been able to excel. When you give us something to do, we excel at it, no matter what it is. If it's in sports, anything, you give us the tools to learn that trade, we excel in it all. The threat comes in is that you don't want to empower too many Black folks. Let me just keep it 100. Because if you empower us and you put us in those positions, they feel as though they've lost their power. And it's not even about all that. All we want is a level playing field. But they don't like us because they cannot be us. They listen, everything in our culture.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
To a point to where, okay, I don't want to look like you, but I do want to act like you. And let me circle back a little bit. Yeah, you might try to look like us a little bit because all I see is thousands of people on the beach trying to tan to get darker. So there's that element as well. But white folks will always there's be some envy and strife. And before I go any further, let me say this to those that maybe listen. I'm not speaking about all white folks.
Exactly. We do have to put that disclaimer out there.
Yeah. I am not talking about all white people. I am talking about those folks that just cannot stand our guts. Those are the people who I'm directing this to, because I have white friends who I love dearly.
Me too.
I love dearly. And I will take them to any Black function because I feel that they would just fit right in like a missing piece of a puzzle. Right. So I don't have a problem with white folks. I have problems with the racist white folks that, want to dispute or hate towards us, want to harm us and do things of that nature. Now, Vanessa, here's the other thing with all that. I do respect the fact that you tell me that you don't like me. Mm-hmm. I respect that. I'd rather for you to tell me that you don't like me and I know, than for you to be up in my face and you don't
Pretending.
like me, but you just doing some stuff just to try to appease me. So yeah, I appreciate the person saying, man, listen, I don't like black folks. Okay, that's fine. I know how to deal with you, and we cool with that. But you're the ones that they want to stab you behind your back. That's the ones I have a problem
Right. Well, I don't, I mean, you're going to have those, but you know what? Dislike me from a distance. You know what I'm saying? Don't
with. Right.
harm me because I didn't do anything to you. I'm going to
Yeah.
live my life. I'm going to have a beautiful life and do
Right.
everything that I want to do.
And listen,
I am privileged, right? I could do anything I want.
well,
So,
that's the privilege that we have. It's not called white privilege. This is called we are privileged
privilege.
because we can do whatever we want to do. We have an opportunity, just like this podcast, that I've been doing. I've always wanted an avenue how to talk to everybody and this and that. I've had a lot of people to encourage me to do this long time ago before the George Floyd situation. And I procrastinated for so very long. And unfortunately, it took this pandemic to happen for a lot of stuff in my personal life to start turning around for the good. So the pandemic, for me has not been a curse for per se, but it's been a blessing in ways that it's just almost unbearable to describe. But we have an opportunity to do pretty much anything that we want to do. And I hope that during this particular time right now, I hope that Black folks will take advantage of all the opportunities that we have now, because unfortunately, we may not, I said may, we may not have this opportunity again to do that. So right now, while the fire is hot, we need to go ahead and take advantage of everything we can right now, whether it's getting a loan for jobs, getting another job. If you have a small business and you're trying to get backing from major corporations or sponsorships, now is the time for
take advantage of it.
all Black business, small business, to take advantage of this opportunity that we have right
Yeah.
now.
We're going to talk about that real quick too. But, one thing, if it's anything that I learned, is that racism is deeply rooted.
Right.
It is not just rooted in one or two. It's not just rooted in one or two people. It's deeply rooted in America. And I feel like if it's still rooted, you have to somehow pull it up, right? You have
Yeah.
to get to the core
Mhm.
where it really comes from.
Right.
And so we know where it comes from. We talked about that. I
Yeah.
just pray to God that, people will recognize it within themselves,
Right.
because it would be wonderful that we could be at peace, be free, right? Because all we want to do is live. We're
Yeah.
doing that anyway. But
Right.
we don't want to watch over our back because some crazy person doesn't like the color of my skin, so decides they want to just, either stab me or, beat me up or whatever. There are so many people who are so scared to go outside.
Right.
And let's not even talk about the little kids who are scared right now what they see.
Right.
But we can't stop the hate. We already talked about that. It's something that they have to do. We just have to go on and live our lives every day. And I am going to talk about some of the comments that I just heard on Facebook. It really is about what we were talking about. But I really believe they need to have the conversations with their side. We need to have a conversation with our side.
Uh,
And there needs to be a continual conversation with everyone. That's why I love this platform, because I want to have everyone involved. I mean, because sometimes people are they're what's the word? They're oblivious to what we go through
mhm.
because they're far removed from it. It doesn't happen to them. Some of my friends have been silent, through this whole process. Somebody has asked me, how are you doing? How are you really, really doing? Is this really affecting you? I really want to know. That's my really good friend. I love her to this day. That's like my sister. She's like my sister from another mother.
Right.
And, she talks about, she really, and she's white. And she asked me, she said, how are you doing? Are you okay? How many of our people have asked, I mean, not our people, but our friends who are of a different persuasion, ask us, are we okay? Are you all right? I know you're going through a lot right now. What
Yeah.
can I do? What can
Right.
I say? And sometimes I think they're silent because they don't know what to say. They don't
Right.
know.
Right.
So I think that this is everything that we talked about, like the Black Lives Movement. I think it's making a powerful statement. I think we're on our way to down a different path that neither of us have ever seen before.
Right.
This whole protest with the George Floyd, everything that has happened, because
Right.
there's been tons of killings, tons of them.
Right.
It's on a rise now, and people are aware. Thank God for our phones.
Yeah. Yeah. And and listen, and I'm not gonna belittle it too much, but we really have to be thankful that we live in an age where technology is just a beautiful thing, because it has allowed us to capture moments of where people where their injustice is just being totally abused right now. So I'm very thankful. I'm very pleased with the way things are going. I mean, there's a whole lot of room for improvement, and I'm very thankful to that. And just to piggyback on your question, and then however you want to close it out, you can. There's
Thank you.
you have a when we talked about what can white people do, there's one word: listen.
Listen,
Just listen.
listen, and understand.
Listen and have it, and so you can understand where you can hear it. See, they had a visual. They had a visual when that knee was on the neck, and they saw life being taken away. Now, the one thing that I am very happy about is the fact that our the young white generation, the young white millennials, they woke.
Yes,
That
they are.
those young millennials, they are woke.
But it's not just white. There's
It's
Asian.
it's
There's
Asians and not, but black
I
and
know what
white.
you're saying.
So
Right. Right.
Asians, Hispanics, they are woke. The millennials, as much as I be complaining about them because I have two of them,
Yes,
I
I do.
have two millennials as kids, who I'm always having to be on their case all the time. You know, they're the one they're like, we're not gonna take what our parents took and what my grandparents took and what my great parents took. It's a new day.
It's a
It
new
is a
day.
new day for
Yes.
all of that.
Yes.
So I feel that things are going in the right direction. It has to continue to go in the right directions. Those very uncomfortable conversations they have to continue to take place. So you have to have those uncomfortable conversations to take place so you can end up to be comfortable.
Right.
You
I
have to do.
like that. I like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, and that's so important. Have them uncomfortable conversations so that you can continue to be comfortable.
Right, right.
Okay.
And and we as black people, we have some very uncomfortable conversations that we need to have.
Yes.
It's just not the other side.
You're right.
We black folks, there's a whole lot of uncomfortable conversations that needs to start coming up really, really soon.
Yeah, that's another show.
Right, because if those conversations don't come up, all of this great
Will be for naught.
work that's being done right now, it's gonna go up in smoke.
Right. And that's what
And
we
we have
don't
to be
want to
taken seriously.
happen. We don't want that to happen
No,
because we
no.
want to see a difference. But we had some comments. I'm not sure if you're on Facebook right now, but Fred said, it's true. I pray it continues until change comes. And Deborah McDonald, hey Deborah, she said much needed conversation. Eli Brown, my cousin, said, "You can't want more for people than they want for themselves." And Melanie Bowden said, "I think parents need to take personal responsibility for their children, and education must start and continue at home," which is
Absolutely.
definitely what we
Absolutely.
said. Yes, yes, yes. Well, hey, it's been awesome. And I
Yeah.
think that we touched on a lot today.
Right.
We did do a little groundbreaking for, maybe a segment for your podcast, and
Absolutely.
maybe I'll have you back on a Social Vibes live show.
All
Because I
right.
do that twice a month now. So I'm
Yeah.
really excited about it. I'm excited, more excited about your podcast. So tell me when your podcast will launch.
The podcast is going to officially be launched on July 20th. And we have a very, very special guest. I cannot put it
I
out
know.
there right now. I already told you who it's going to be. However,
Big
I'm
time.
looking forward to having him on the podcast with me, and we just going to touch over a whole lot of different issues that's going on right now. But primarily for the beginning of my podcast, it's pretty much going to be about race, and we're going to talk about that, and then we're going to start segueing. We're going to talk about in different injustices. We're going to talk about interracial marriages. We're going to talk about relationships. We're going to talk about church. There's the black church versus the white church. They say at 11 o'clock in the morning
It's the most
across
segregated.
the most segregated place in the world are churches. And let me just say this before in closing. Last night, my favorite song in the world is "Told Praise." That is my favorite song ever. And so last night I'm, in my bed, and so I I wanted to hear it before I went to sleep last night. And it just so happened to be, I was like, well, you know what? I don't want to hear Richard Smallwood, the person who originally sung it. So I put on the Brooklyn Tabernacle Choir. I've always been under the assumption that Brooklyn Tabernacle Choir was an all black choir. But when I turned on there, it was a white director,
Mm-hmm.
it was white people in the choir,
Mm-hmm.
a sprinkle of Asian folks in there.
It's very
And
diverse.
I said to myself, that's how it should be.
That's right.
And if I ever was over anybody of believers, that would be the type of people who I would want every single nationality that there is. I had a crying session last night. I ain't, because I kept saying is like, Lord, this is how it should be.
Right.
And to see white folks waving their hands and praising God, it just did something to me last night. And I was just, I mean, even talking about now, I get a little full with it, but that's how it should be. So we should all just love each other, and just when we can, don't have to do the social distance stuff, but love on each other and just be able to be there for one another. And that's my goal. So I thank you for having me on your show and on your platform, and for all those who are interested, uh, you will get information on how to follow me on Facebook and Twitter and the other social media outlets. But thank you so much, Vanessa. I really do appreciate it.
Okay, great. Well, guys, that's our little segment of Social Vibes Live tonight. I hope you enjoyed the show. We will be back in another week and a half with another social vibe. Maybe you'll come back on another live show. But I was going to ask you to leave a positive word. I think you just did. So I'm not going to ask you to leave another positive word because that was very powerful. And thanks, guys. And you guys have a great night. And see you next week. Bye.
All right, take care. Bye bye.